Mindfulness is the cultivation of non-judgmental awareness
Okay.
of the present.
How does mindfulness differ from meditation?
Some
Yeah.
people have an innate tendency to where meditation can come fairly naturally.
Yes.
With others, it is not so easy. For the most of us, it is not easy, and that includes me, right? Practice actually helps any kind of practice, whether it's pottery or playing tennis or music or even meditation. That actually gets you to experience something called neuroplasticity. That's a term scientists have used. So mindfulness is not about getting you to a place where you become detached. It's about participating. So that's what I meant by compassion. But your compassion means you're in a way participating. You're helping solve problems, maybe at an individual level or maybe at the level of activism, right?
Namaskar, welcome to the Meeting Point podcast. I'm Sarika, your host. In the world filled with misery, grief, stress, anxiety, mindfulness and meditation has been in the forefront. Why? Because of its significant results in helping people overcome these issues. To discuss the why and how of all this, we have invited Pramod Athalye, who's a certified mindfulness guide, to discuss about these practices. So do watch the podcast till the end because there's a lot to learn and take away from this. So let's begin the conversation with Pramod. Hello, Pramod. Welcome to the Meeting Point podcast.
Hi, glad to be here.
Yeah, very excited about this topic because ever since I got into yoga, I've been hearing about mindfulness in every aspect. So if we have to talk about it formally, like what mindfulness means, what would that be?
Mindfulness, I think, is a term which has got some publicity, maybe because it's become a movement, particularly in the West.
Okay.
But let's peel it back a little bit to understand the essence of the term.
Yes.
Right? It's a translation of the Sanskrit word smriti or the Pali word sati. Pali was the language that was used at the Buddha's time. It's similar to Sanskrit. And that means remembrance. But remembrance of what? So in the core essence of those two terms, it's a remembrance of who we really are.
Okay.
And so mindfulness is a practice that through contemplation and meditation helps us cultivate that remembrance so that we are able to live more presently in our day-to-day life.
Right.
So if you were to look at it as a simple definition, mindfulness is the cultivation of non-judgmental awareness of the present. It's very simple, but each of those words is loaded, and we can get into that. But it's essentially cultivation of the non-judgmental awareness of the present. So that's a good way to try to define it as to what it is.
Right. So where did it origin from? Of course, we should be aware of this. We should be in that state all the time. But as a movement, as you said, how did it start?
Well, it's before the movement. It really started with the Buddha, with Lord Buddha, in his sutra called Satipatthana Sutta in Pali, right? That is 2,600 years ago, roughly. And that is the origin of one of his teachings, his many other profound teachings. And so then that obviously spread to India and other parts of the region around here.
Okay.
But over time, gradually, it spread to Southeast Asia and then Tibet, China, and Japan, right? Sri Lanka also. And then Buddhism subsided in our country here.
Yeah.
But over the last 30 to 40 years, it picked up as a movement in the West, because a number of people started reading about Buddhism and Buddha's teachings. And particularly when the intellectuals, the scientists and the MDs and the academicians in the West started going deeper into it, they started understanding the profound teachings and its benefits. And so something like yoga
Yeah.
right? It started spreading and people started to know more and more about it.
Right.
And so that's where the resurgence has come about, particularly in the West,
Okay.
but more as a movement.
More as a
Yeah.
movement. Yeah, because it's only in the last so many years that there are these workshops and people
Yeah.
talking about it
Right,
and all
right.
that. How does mindfulness differ from meditation? I mean,
Meditation is a core part of mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is, as I said before, the cultivation of a non-judgmental awareness of the present. So meditation is the sort of the absolute core practice within that. Otherwise, how do you, the words cultivation requires denotes practice, right?
yeah, yeah,
Non-judgmental requires an attention to your mind, and the present is not going to the past, not going to the future. And so meditation is the way to develop attention. And once you develop attention, it can be any type of meditation. There are different types of meditation.
yeah.
But mindfulness meditation in particular talks about paying attention to your body sensations, to your thoughts, to your emotions, as a way to then become grounded in the present, little by little, and then cultivate this quality of being non-judgmental. So non-judgmental about external matters, whether
Yeah.
it's circumstances or events or people. Uh, it's about non-judgmental about your own thoughts and emotions. So to stay with it. It doesn't mean to be detached, but to stay with that. So mindfulness is the very essence. I'm sorry, meditation is the very essence of this practice of mindfulness.
And are there different types, different school of thoughts?
Well, as I said, there is a particular type of meditation called mindfulness meditation. It's also called insight meditation,
Okay.
which you may have heard about in terms of the term called Vipassana. Right?
Yes.
Vipassana is translated in English as insight, INSIGHT, insight meditation,
Okay.
which offers you insight into your own thoughts, your sensations, and all that.
Right.
There are other types of meditation, which is maybe when you're focusing on an object or you're concentrating on a mantra.
Okay.
There are different types of meditations, and all of these, to my understanding, have the single objective of sharpening your attention. And so attention is what you begin to cultivate through these practices. And mindfulness in particular is a way of paying attention to things that you are very obviously very familiar with, like your body sensations. A lot of people don't realize we have constantly moving sensations in our bodies. So
Yeah.
this is one way of, where you have immediate access to something you can bring your attention to. Then you move on to to emotions and then thoughts, and then externally to phenomena around you. So that is what is mindfulness meditation,
Right.
or insight meditation as they call it. So
I didn't know this part about the insight. I mean,
Yeah.
Vipassana is also called as insight.
yeah. So it's translated, as I said, as insight meditation, or Vipassana is the word many of us are familiar with.
Yeah. Vipassana is what we are familiar with.
And sorry, by the way,
Yeah.
Vipassana meditation is what the Buddha actually originally taught.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Okay.
insight meditation. He started, Vipassana comes from Buddhism.
Yeah, it comes from Buddhism, but I don't know he started off
Right.
with that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How did you get into this?
I used to meditate
Yeah.
on and off maybe 25, 30 years ago.
Okay.
But it was very sporadic. And it was mainly just a desire to be quiet, just to sit in stillness. I always have liked that and found value, whether I used to go hiking when I used to live in the near the Himalayas or just be by myself. So I knew there was some value to being alone and in stillness, right? And I saw some benefits of that, which kind of stayed with me, for a couple of days after meditation.
Okay.
But it really, I think, took off for me about 9 years ago when I went for my first Vipassana retreat, a 10-day silent retreat.
Yeah.
And that's where the kind of experience I had helped me then develop this practice of regular meditation,
Okay.
right? And so that was the start for me.
And then one thing led to another.
Yeah, so yes, so as I then started meditating regularly, I started finding out that there is there's something that is beyond and behind the words that I used to read in books, that were written by people like Krishnamurti, or many of the other authors. Even books like the Tao Te Ching, which is a book written by Lao Tzu, who was a contemporary of the Buddha. So that was one of the things I started noticing about the benefit of meditation.
Okay.
Before, it used to be perhaps a cerebral understanding of these books, but it did not make any difference to the way I showed up in life.
Okay.
It's one thing to know what these people are teaching and kind of nod your head and say, I understand it. But it's a big leap from there to then finding out that not only do you understanding at a deeper level, but that understanding can now begin to seep into the way you can start seeing slight changes in yourself. So that is I think that is the difference.
Okay. Okay. And you're trying to spread the word around about that.
I'm sorry?
And you're trying to now spread the word.
Yeah, then
the
it led,
effects.
as you said, led from one thing to another. And so my interest deepened in that to the point where I said, these benefits that I'm beginning to realize, and of course, it's never on or off switch, right? People expect that once you start doing it, you become a perfect person. You still struggle with, because you're a human being, you've got all these years of pattern behavior and whatnot.
True.
But nonetheless, through it, as I saw that there was some benefit, and I felt there was a natural desire that arose in me that if I can benefit from this, perhaps so can others.
Okay.
And so then I actually enrolled for a 2-year course and got certified as a mindfulness teacher.
Okay.
And so then that led to participation in sanghas and now having my own small sangha. And to the extent that I can reach out to people, and even a fraction of them understand mindfulness and start perhaps benefiting from that, which I've seen, thankfully, then that's very fulfilling in a quiet way.
So if I come down to the practicalities of it all, or actually trying to imbibe that practice in us, we are so full here. So much. I mean, there's constant chatter, and sometimes the thoughts are very random.
Yes.
The first is not connected to the second thought or whatever.
Right.
How could we get? How do we form the habit rather of doing this? I mean, would the chatter eventually subside, or?
Yes, it does. But I think the best, so the direct response to your question is yes, it can be done, and it can be done through regular meditation.
Okay.
One needs to find time to sit by oneself. I think that's really how it starts. It can be for 15 minutes a day. But the important thing is not to sit down with any expectation. Right? Okay, that I'm going to sit down for meditation. I've been meditating for 2 months, nothing's happened, right? In fact, when most people sit down to meditate, they find the opposite happens. Their thoughts become even more active, right? What the Zen masters call the monkey mind goes into the top gear. So I think the whole point behind meditation is to sit down quietly with no expectations, with no self-judgment, not to strive for anything, but just to be. Just to be. Even to be with the thoughts that, as you said, just arise, and they can be crazy. You're thinking one thought about 2 weeks ago, the next thought is about tomorrow, right? It goes all over the place. But to stay with that. In fact, that itself is part of the practice.
Okay.
It's like if you want to be physically fit, you go to a gym, you have to lift those weights to develop some muscle, right? So that may not be easy. That's a challenge.
Right.
So in a way, this is part of that. But the best thing is not to be judgmental about yourself, not to have a goal in mind, and that's a good way to start.
A very difficult start, though. For many people, it
yes,
would be.
Of course, it's not easy. It's difficult. What I find to be very, very motivating actually is not so much the goal of achieving something, but just having a simple, pure intent. For me, it was just the intent. My intent was to go deeper and understand, different aspects about myself and about life and all that. So it was just open curiosity not to say that I someday hope to get enlightened or, none of that.
Yeah, none of
It was
that.
just an intent. I think that intent helps you.
Okay.
Because if you have intent, then you're not so much guided by or whipsawed around by determination or self-evaluation, any of these things. And then you can stay with whatever arises, right? Yes, it is difficult, but there is a period through, and if you get over that period, I can't say the magic number. It
Yeah,
varies for
yeah,
people, right?
yeah,
Some
yeah.
people have an innate tendency to where meditation can come fairly naturally.
Yes.
With others, it is not so easy. For the most of us, it is not easy, and that includes me, right? But I can say, after having meditated for 9 years, that over time it gets easier. But even then, I don't think you can reach a point where you are, blissed out or something. That can happen, but it's something that can happen without you seeking it, and it can last for an instant or maybe a minute or at best. But the key is not to seek it. The key is just to be with whatever arises, and that can get you into the area where you can start then feeling the benefits of meditation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we always say, if you're a potter, you're sitting on the wheel. That
Right.
is also meditation because you're completely focused on
Yeah.
lifting the clay and
Yeah,
shaping it
yeah,
and all
yeah.
that. Doing something else, even cooking for
Right,
that matter,
yeah.
or whatever, is meditation.
Yeah.
Listening to music and flowing with it,
Right.
and stuff like that. So these are more, your mind is still external, looking at something, or you're moving your body naturally, or
Right,
whichever
right,
way.
yeah.
Whereas here be it Vipassana or, where sitting in meditation is completely different, isn't it? So how do we draw parallels and how do we draw a balance between these two? I mean,
Okay, that's a good question. I wouldn't say it's entirely. To somebody who's observing a person who's meditating, it would seem to be exactly as what you're saying, that the focus seems to be internal.
yeah.
But that's the reason that Buddha talked about the four foundations of mindfulness, and the first one
Okay.
was he talked about mindfulness of the body.
Okay.
And what he means by the body is not to look at yourself in the mirror, but to sit quietly and start observing the sensations in your body, right?
Okay.
And it's amazing once you sit down, you're not even aware of sensations that can be at the very subtle level,
True.
right? But if you start doing that, you start finding out that it's almost tangible. It's not like as tangible as the potter
Yeah,
with his
yeah,
pot,
yeah.
but it is very tangible. So it's at the gross level. So that's what he taught first, and then he went on to emotion because that's somewhat less gross. But emotions is something you feel as an energy in you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
quite as specifically as body sensations, but then from there you go on to thoughts. So that's why he taught that. So yes, I think while it is not necessarily an outward area of focus, this gets you to something which is pretty close to that.
Okay.
And there is another aspect to that which you may be leading up to, I don't know, but practice actually helps any kind of practice, whether it's pottery or playing tennis or music or even meditation. That actually gets you to experience something called neuroplasticity. That's a term scientists have used to find out basically that neuroplasticity is essentially a phenomenon where repeated activity, now that activity could be external or it could be something like even meditation, right?
Okay.
Over time, it actually changes the way your brain, your neural activity changes in the brain. So it actually has an effect on your brain. So that's the reason why you want to meditate regularly. That's the emphasis on why one should be regular. As one should be regular with tennis or anything, right? You
Anything,
have to
yeah.
do something, even though you're very talented or gifted, even the best tennis players, for example. I'm talking about tennis because we have the Wimbledon finals tonight, which I'm going to watch. Even the best players have to practice regularly,
Right,
So
right,
that's the other aspect of meditation. Not only is it linked to the external focus that you talked about in example, but there is a equivalent of that, but also has the same component as these other hobbies, if you will, or crafts you talked about, in terms of regularity, and its similar benefit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You briefly mentioned about foundations,
Yeah.
4 foundations
Right,
of.
right.
Do you want to talk about
The
these?
4 foundations are a systematic way in which a person can experience subtler levels of becoming mindful through
Okay.
meditation.
Okay.
As I said, the body sensations are the easiest to feel.
Right.
And in Vipassana, that's what you do after 3 days. The first 3 days, you just become There's something called anapana. We become stable by focusing on the breath, right?
Yeah.
So through observing your body sensations, you become aware that these are impermanent. These can be pleasant, it can be unpleasant. So one is that you cultivate attention, which I said is common to all meditation, right? Secondly, remember you heard me say that there's something called non-judgmental as
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
definition, if you want, of mindfulness.
Right.
So by staying with the kind of sensation you have, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, you begin to cultivate the non-judgmental aspect.
Okay.
So where your knee may be hurting, but you are then instructed with time to stay with whatever is happening with the knee for a little while. So you can dwell longer on that part of your body where you feel that sensation, pleasant or unpleasant. So that helps you then cultivate not only the attention but the non-judgmental aspect of it. So that's the mindfulness of the body, the first sort of the ground level, if you will. Right? Then you go to emotions. Same thing. You feel where you are, and there's a linkage between the emotions. It's not a purely mental phenomenon. It's mental and body. You can feel in emotion somewhere in your chest or in your heart or in your throat, right? Your mouth can dry up.
Yeah.
And again, even if there's a positive emotion, you stay with it. If there's a somewhat negative emotion that's arising, you try to stay with that. Now, of course, if it's a very strong emotion, we advise not to stay with that because you can create some psychological problems, right?
Yeah.
So it's obviously the implication here is this is for somebody who is not suffering from severe trauma, for whom then they had to have psychological and professional help through MBSR, MBCT, and all that. But I'm talking about those who don't have these very severe past mental experiences.
Okay.
Right? So then that's the second foundation. The third foundation is mindfulness of thoughts. Now you're becoming more subtle, right? From emotions where there's more energy behind the thoughts, now you're going to the thoughts themselves. Thought could be anything like thinking of my work.
Okay.
So you acknowledge and you observe that you are now thinking about work, and you pay attention to it. And if you do pay attention to the idea is not to get carried away with that. We get carried away, but the idea is to gently pull ourselves back.
Okay.
So not only are you sharpening your attention with noticing the thought has come up, but you're also now bringing yourself, the attention back to an anchor. It could be your breath or it could be your body sensation and something. So that's the third foundation. And the fourth foundation is somewhat harder to understand, but it's called mindfulness of dharma. But it's not. It doesn't mean it's the religion.
Religion.
It means it's the way of how you relate with external phenomena. It's now so far you're going within. At this stage, you're now beginning to become mindful of how you relate, particularly your mind, to externalities around you. So you become aware of what's happening around you, what someone's saying, something that happens, and then again you're paying attention to how you're responding to that. So you are building this whole four foundations of mindfulness. So that's how this progresses.
Okay. So this is done in a very systematic way.
If you one thing you could say about the Buddha's teaching, which is very systematic and extremely logical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and very
Okay.
structured.
So if one wants to learn this, okay, what should one do? Or how should
Learn
one go about
mindfulness or learn meditation? What?
mindfulness?
There are different aspects to this whole endeavor, if endeavor is the right word.
Okay.
And it's very nicely captured by the Sanskrit word called bhavna, which I learned through a respected mindfulness teacher in California in one of his talks. I thought of bhavna as either a girl's name, which is common, or B, sentiment, right?
Yeah.
But through him, and it is true, I looked it up, the real, no, I won't say the real, but the deeper meaning of bhavna
Yeah.
is cultivation and growth.
Okay.
Okay, so I reflected on that to say, what does it mean? What does cultivation and growth mean, at least for me?
Yeah.
So cultivation, and this is where I'm coming to your question, cultivation of mindfulness, where we talked about, the non-judgmental awareness of the present. In that context, my experience has been that, and I think that is the experience of many other people who have practiced far longer than me, like this teacher,
Okay.
is you acquire knowledge, you learn, either through reading, through listening to others, and nowadays you can watch also, right? Whether they're podcasts or some video clips. That's the knowledge part.
Right.
Then comes reflection and contemplation.
Correct.
By that I mean sometimes you have to, not sometimes actually, quite often there's something you don't understand in your learning or reading. One way is to have the Q&A, and our tendency is to ask the question so that we get a answer right away. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where you're sitting with something you're not sure about, or you want to go deeper into that. And then you stay with that. And over time, it's like planting seeds. Something unfolds and you begin to
Yeah.
understand that at a deeper
Yeah.
level. So that's the
Yeah.
cultivation part.
Uh-huh.
The third part is meditation. A lot of people stay at the level of knowledge, uh, maybe contemplation, and that's fine. Those who want to do that, they can do that. There are people who go for advanced degrees in those areas, and they become very knowledgeable. I by no means am a scholar in this area, right? I'm a practitioner.
Yeah.
Then so meditation is the third, which is I think the key. Unless you sit in silence with all of this knowledge and reflection and contemplation, it's going to stay at that level. Meditation is that realm where it's hard to describe in words how it transforms the knowledge and cultivation into something that becomes an experience, but it does do that. It also leads you to your own insights, which you find out are not necessarily original, but they're your own insights. And
Okay.
then those insights pretty much, when you read about them back in those books, you say, aha, I think I'm beginning to get something, right? So all of this is the cultivation part, the three aspects to it. And then the growth is where you begin to become wiser in the context of wisdom beyond knowledge. It's not just quoting some saying by a teacher. It's now something you're recalling that because now you're beginning to experience some of that. So that is how you begin to slowly feel a sense of being able to deal with your difficulties, with your own. It has to start with yourself, right? When you
Yeah,
are now able
yeah.
to see the transformation, that is wisdom. And then that unfolds into compassion. Because once you begin to understand yourself and you acknowledge freely, these are the drawbacks, or what were the drawbacks in me. For example, I used to be very impatient. Once I, through this process, came to realize that, and meditation helped me then become more mindful and more non-judgmental.
Okay.
That then helped me understand that I should perhaps give a little slack to somebody who may be impatient. So that's the beginning of, and of course, compassion is far deeper than that.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a long answer for what you said, how
Yeah.
one goes about doing this.
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to say is it's not something where you can stop just at reading. That's the beginning. But if you really want to cultivate that non-judgmental awareness of the presence, you need to go through all of this. And it takes time.
It takes time, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah. Some days it can be a smooth sailing in terms of understanding what you're going through or experiencing, and
Yeah.
some days you will struggle with it.
Of course,
probably.
it is part of it.
Won't even understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where, again, I keep coming in again and again, even when I do guided meditations in every sitting, I start off by saying we are sitting here in stillness. We are not trying to achieve anything. We are not trying to strive for something. We are not trying to judge ourselves. Let whatever arise be experienced, whether it's thoughts, positive, negative. It's natural. There's nothing wrong with
natural,
thoughts.
yeah.
We're not trying to suppress them. We're not trying to control them. We're just becoming aware to the point where attention is the key, because once you bring attention to something, it's like a referee who blows a whistle at a player,
Okay.
right? So a thought is like a player, and you see a referee blowing. Who's the referee in the case? It's just ourselves. But we don't do that because we are so caught up and lost in our own thoughts that there's no referee.
Yeah.
And the referee in this context is not someone who's trying to say you should not be playing. The player is the thought. But I notice that I see your eyes, and you're not going to hijack me, the thought. Or if it hijacks you, then you bring it back to the present. So that's the opening to something that's far more profound than just even the definition of mindfulness, which is true. Because someone might say, okay, so what? Cultivating a non-judgmental awareness of the present is well and fine, but so what? But this actually leads you into the so what, and it get to be very profound in terms of going down deeper into
Yeah.
yourself.
And I guess we can't explain it to somebody like with the question of so what,
Yeah.
unless a person goes through it.
Unless they go through it, and yes, really, that's really
Yeah,
what it is.
because
But I think that person, I think someone has to have an innate curiosity, more than curiosity, but they have to have at least some sense of, I want to know more about it. People are sometimes drawn to it. I know many people, good friends of mine, who I don't bring up the subject with at all.
yeah,
So, you can sense it in those, and that's perfectly fine.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not that everybody should do it or something. But for those who have attended, but you don't know who sometimes it is, right? My friends I know, but
Yeah.
there are many other people that come into contact who I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's not that I go around spouting mindfulness at
Yeah.
a social event or something. That's not how I do that.
True.
Yeah. But you're right. It's something
Yeah.
one has to start. It's a process of osmosis,
Yeah.
right? It has to go at a level that's beyond the mind, beyond just the thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not a subject you study and say, okay, now I know it
Correct.
all.
Yeah, I know it all. Yeah. Yeah, that never happens.
No.
That never happens.
Not particularly in this area.
Yeah.
Because it's a lived experience.
Correct.
It's a lived experience.
Yeah. And the shift that it brings along with it.
That it could bring along.
It could bring
No
along,
expectations.
Yeah, no expectations, but it happens in a very subtler way. You don't.
Yes.
It doesn't come knocking that, hey, I'm
No.
going to change you now.
Well,
But,
sometimes some people do have deep meditative experiences that come knocking on your door without you seeking them out. That's about the only instance in which I can say that, as they say, it happens by grace.
Okay.
You don't seek and acquire grace. Grace comes to you.
Comes to you.
It's like a famous saying by a Zen master: you don't find the way finds you.
Yeah.
Or you don't seek the way seeks you, or something
Yeah.
like that. So, but it doesn't mean you just wait, right? You do have to cultivate all
Correct.
this, and
Correct.
then again, not to hope that you get the knock on the door, so to speak, right? That's the key.
True.
Because we are so goal oriented. We are so
Yeah.
much into, if I do this, then this must happen. If then, that's our conditioning. In fact, this is one way of trying to uncondition ourselves.
Yeah.
If does not necessarily lead to then. If may lead to then.
Yeah.
And if it leads to then be open to whatever that then leads to.
True. This reminds me of an experience. I'd gone to Rishikesh for a course on meditation.
Yeah.
And I'd gone there 2 days prior to the start date and everything. And then we were sort of meeting the other participants also. We were 14, 15 of us coming from different geographical areas. And I'm so conditioned to, and this is very, very early days of me into yoga or whatever, For me, awareness was just a word then. So go there and then, I'm trying to figure out, okay, now what do we do next? Like everyone is relaxed and everyone, but I'm like getting very fidgety. Okay, there should be a plan, isn't it? There should be an agenda.
Yeah.
So it was leaving me very restless that how can somebody be so relaxed about, okay, I'm like, okay, what happens after this? So we would go to one point maybe, look, visit.
Yeah.
Now where do we go? Now what do we do? That lasted on the first day of the course also. Like, okay, now what next are we going to study? It was so mechanical.
Yeah.
Till I had to break that myself and sort of completely let go and experience, okay, whatever is coming my way and just go with the flow.
That's
It was
exactly
so
it.
difficult.
That is exactly it. You're right on both counts. I think we are so programmed to, at least from our teenage years as we get into college and whatnot work, we lose some of that innocence and the natural openness to life that we have as children. We start out that way, but then we lose it. And so that's what I mean by getting programmed over time. It's goals, need to do this, need to achieve that. It's all the tick marks, the to-do lists, and that works fine for that context, right?
Yeah.
But in this endeavor, if we bring that over here, which we naturally do because we bring this with us, it's natural. It takes time, as you say, it is difficult. But I think, boy, is it worth it? It really is worth it. Because then you discover a completely different dimension to your own life, possibly.
Yeah, possibly.
Right?
No? I'm hanging on to the term that you used. Yes, cultivation, yes. And then from there, the growth or, not growth, compassion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If every second person starts to imbibe this quality in them,
Yeah,
it would be such a different world that we're living in, right?
you're absolutely right. That's the larger
So much.
aspiration of many
Yeah.
practitioners, including some of the really experienced teachers I had the pleasure of being taught by or listening to them.
Yeah.
That is, and ultimately, as they say in Buddhism, it's the aspiration at the deepest level is to be bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is someone who's achieved that phase where they have become enlightened, but they choose to stay back to help fellow human beings and creatures
Okay.
to come out of this. So that is the ultimate place of this aspiration, the compassion. And compassion, by the way, is different from empathy. Compassion
Yeah.
is empathy where you are empathy with some action, where you do something to alleviate the condition that someone finds themselves in, particularly where they're suffering either physically or mentally or something.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
really what compassion is about.
Yeah. And of course, this would also have a huge impact on people's egos, right? Where they come from.
That is what this is about. Is the I, me, and mine,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's really so. That is the, and that's when I said that you go beyond to beyond the. This is the so what. You're
Yeah,
now getting into the so what, which I kind of brought up.
Yeah.
You're now beginning to bring that. This is where it gets you into your ego, and even then saying who or what are you. Is there something beyond you with your likes and dislikes, your life history, your gender, your preferences, your personality? This is the profound dimension to this whole practice.
Okay. Okay.
And it's not a metaphysical question. It's not a philosophical question. It is truly the most fundamental inquiry into yourself. And by doing that, then you begin to understand others and other things.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
this is about. And so in mindfulness, there are two really two significant aspects to it. One is, I talked about the core purpose of meditation is to cultivate attention, right?
Yeah.
And sharpen it.
Yeah.
So the first part of mindfulness practice is to pay attention to yourself, within yourself, and then to pay attention to things arising outside of you, non-judgmentally, right?
Yeah.
So to the point where you can stay with whatever it is without reacting. You can choose your response.
Correct.
So that's how you begin to, so that's the purpose and the benefit of the non-judgmental awareness through cultivation of attention. And as I said, once you blow the referee blows the whistle, the power of the thought or the emotion diminishes. The very act of being noticed
Yeah.
can diminish the power of the thought. So you stop being hijacked or to react in a manner you probably wouldn't react, like in anger, for example. So the first phase is paying attention to whatever is arising, right? Paying attention as the I, the familiar I that you are, the person you are. Even though you're paying attention to your thoughts and all, you're still the I. Your name and whatever it is you see yourself in the mirror. The more significant phase or the second phase of that is paying attention to the I. Now you're beginning to turn the attention inwards to what is paying the attention. And that is where we are getting into this territory of looking at one's ego.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it is.
Yeah. Wow. Phenomenal. I mean, you explaining it with such ease.
I honestly don't know. It comes through experience, I think. Experience and continuous learning and contemplation. Because what I'm saying to you, it's a continuous journey. And one of our teachers, who's now 80 years old, he says this is a continuous endeavor till the end. We never reach a stage where we say, okay, now I got everything figured out, I'm living the way. It may have been the case for a few rare individuals in life, but for the vast majority of us, it's something that's a continuous experience.
Wow. So, these monks who have been practicing for ages, right? For them to reach a stage where, they are more, not reactive, but what is the other word to that? Response. They're more mindful about their response or so. To be in that state and to be living in an urban city or, dealing with your day-to-day affairs, how, I don't know, I'm not able to articulate the question well, but what challenges would the person face, or would they be so indifferent to what's happening around, or because they think, okay, this is, I mean, I know how to handle it, probably. They
Right.
know, I mean,
I know
it's
what you're
not
trying
the
to say.
ego which is saying
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
they know
Yeah.
that.
You're trying to reconcile how their state of
Yeah.
being in stillness reconciles
Yeah.
with the challenges they might face. Let's say in traffic in in an urban
In an urban environment.
locality,
Yeah.
or even many other day-to-day challenges. I think a couple of things that I can share here as they arise. One is, it's not that these people are detached. The common sense one gets is that they're detached. Now, of course, some people may have chosen to live in the caves and be away from
Right.
it, and that's fine. That's
Yeah.
what they've chosen to.
Yeah.
But there are many other people who, with this, they come back into life and they participate fully. And one of the best
Yeah.
examples I can think of is His Holiness the Dalai Lama,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
He is not only in that realm of being a true wisdom teacher,
Yeah.
who lives what he teaches so deeply, but who is so engaged in everything that happens
Yeah.
around, right?
Yeah.
So that's the perfect example. And so mindfulness is not about getting you to a place where you become detached. It's about participating. So that's what I meant by compassion. But your compassion means you're, in a way, participating. You're helping solve problems, maybe at an individual
Yeah,
level, or
yeah.
maybe at the level of activism, right? But you're approaching that with a calm center. You're not
Yes.
yourself being driven.
Yeah.
So, in fact, one great teacher called Thich Nhat Hanh, he was a
Yes.
Vietnamese Zen monk. He talked about the example when there are a lot of boat people in the late 70s and early 80s, Vietnamese refugees
Okay.
who were leaving Vietnam by way of many small boats. And he said all it took was one person to upset the boat and everybody would sink. But he said, on the contrary, if one person kept everybody quiet in the boat, quiet in the sense, made them just feel still and just
Yeah.
stay with that,
Yeah.
then that's what would help.
Right.
So I think that's a good example of one of these people that you talk about, who is, who is a renowned or a well-known teacher, yet who can stay with the difficulties of day-to-day life, but he or she brings with them that calm center, which then
Correct.
has a positive effect on the others, because they are not adding to the excitement and the turmoil by,
Right.
that's where that can help. And we need many more people like that
Yeah.
with our problems we have today, right? So
I think we need to train a lot of people in this.
yes, that is one of the
Lot
reasons
of
the
people.
course I went for, because after our cohort was the third cohort, and the first one after COVID. This is a 2-year program I went for.
Okay.
So one benefit was that the program was then offered online, and we had, I don't know, several thousand people. And our teachers, Jack Kornfield and Tara Brach, they're well known in the West. One of the things they kept saying is that we need to reach as many people as possible, so that even in our imperfections, as we are ourselves learning to be better through this practice, we are able to reach out to more people. And for this very reason, which is the reason I did this course, so that I can reach out to others. I don't even think of myself as a teacher, but more as a guide at a national park, right? When others have come to see what the park's about, and I say, okay, I'm familiar with some part of this terrain.
Yeah.
I'll take you on some of the walks that I know of. Feel free to explore. It's a vast area,
Lovely analogy.
right? Yeah. So that's what I think of myself. Because the moment I say I'm a teacher, that can vest myself with the implicit feeling that I know something more than them, and then that's where the ego comes. So one has to be mindful of one's own self, including words like that. So even in a sangha, we try to sit in a circle rather than me sitting on a higher perch or something, because one has to be very conscious of that. So it's at that level that one has to practice day in and day out.
Day in and day out. Oh God, yeah. And I guess if a complete layman is watching this podcast, they say, "Oh, this is going to be so difficult." Like day in and day out, if you have to be in that state, that's next to impossible. But I guess with this regular practice, it comes naturally to you, isn't it?
That's it. That's the thing I talked about, neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
And
Okay.
it can't be done with striving and effort, as I said, that it
Yeah.
must happen or why am I not there? That is going to be a drag. And
Yeah.
a lot of people sometimes give up because of that. It just has to be with this intention. If you have an aspiration, aspiration is something where you want to do something without any ego in it, that I want to be great. It shouldn't be I want.
Yeah.
It has to be just a desire to do good or something. That's an aspiration.
Yeah.
Then yes, that, and if you stay with it, that can get you over that hump, as I said, where it becomes easier, right? You don't become, it's not like an on-off switch. You become perfect, or you have a halo
Yeah.
around your back.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm glad you brought this up, because when I was in college, I used to read books by the great Indian teacher, Krishnamurti. And when he said pretty much one of those books is you have to be constantly alert to yourself. And that time in college, with all our studies and exams, I said, how is that possible, right? So it was the exact same question,
Yeah.
and I stopped reading those books. I said, it's not possible. And even many years later, when I used to read and I stopped, because one day I stopped, I said, this is not making a difference. It is very difficult. And how can one do that?
You mean the practice?
Not even the practice, just this teaching by Krishnamurti and others that one has to be. I started reading about mindfulness before practicing it. I said, how can one do that? You got so many things to do. But what made the shift was, as I said, the 10-day silent retreat, where there was a glimpse that this is possible, right? The window opened just a little bit for me, and for me that was the start. And then of course that led to regular practice and all that. And now I can say with certainty that it can get easier. No guarantees, because the moment I say something, someone will latch on to say, he said that. Why is it not happening for me, right?
Right.
But I can decidedly, and I see some changes in some of the people I deal with, both in my peer student sanghas that from that course or from my own sangha. There's subtle changes in people. So one can begin to see and sense the shift in them.
Yeah.
So yes, it is difficult, but something that's worth doing.
Yeah. Like, when we were just sitting and having a conversation, we spoke about, bringing in changes at the policy level, not policy level, at the process
Societal level,
society level and all of that. Like some years back when we would be discussing the same thing, because, always that startup mode is always on, right? When you're in that state. We would come up with so many ideas and we would just trash them down because we would be blaming somebody else for it. The system or whatever. Now our approach is that, okay, we have this problem. How do we go about it?
Yes.
So you basically, I think over a period, you learn to change your approach. Am I?
Yep. Not only that, you turn it towards yourself.
Okay.
And it's not only how can we do it, but how can I? Individually also. Of course, in the example you mentioned, because it's a societal thing, it has to be we.
Yeah.
Right? But you have to start even within the we individually.
Correct.
How do I begin to deal with it? So for example, if it's about garbage, you see, rather than wait for the committee to say, okay, let's go and start picking it up every Sunday.
Right.
You start doing it.
You start doing it.
So that's how it's, and that's with anything.
Yeah.
But that's what this is about. It's about transformation, your transformation, but looking at turning the attention to yourself and shining the spotlight on yourself and saying, okay, let me first acknowledge, not in a judgmental way or in a negative way, not to talk about your defects per se. We're all human beings.
Yeah.
But to be honest about it. A lot of people, and it's where the ego comes in. 4 or 5 other people will tell someone that someone constantly interrupts others. But unless that person becomes aware of something, and then awareness is the first step, and then they can bring the change about. So you're very right. It has to be turned towards ourselves. Years ago, I used to think that, and of course, one can still complain once in a while. It's them. It's good therapy, but it doesn't get you anywhere because nothing happens. So therapy, in the sense, you feel you feel good. You complained or and you kind of wash your hands. But that doesn't get, as you know, it doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah. Do you train any? Do you do workshops with corporates or?
Not corporates per se. I'm open
individuals.
to, so far I've done it with individuals. And the way I do that is I offer a maybe 40, 45-minute orientation talk. What is mindfulness? Discussing some of the things we discussed today. And if there is interest, then I offer a short course
Okay.
which goes into the 4 foundations of mindfulness we talked about. So these
Yeah.
are 4 1-hour sessions which can be done over a month.
Okay.
And in each 1-hour session is about 35 minutes of my talk, then with a guided meditation for 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
And then what I call the Q&R session, not the Q&A, because I don't necessarily have the answers.
Right.
It's a question and response. All I can do is
I
response.
thought
And
as much.
even if I thought I had an answer, I think it's good for people to stay with a question that they have asked. And I do that sometimes. Say, okay, so you're not sure about the difference between intention and, say, determination. So why don't you just stay with that? And maybe we'll talk about it the next time. So I want to encourage these people, that part about contemplation, right?
Contemplation.
They
Yeah.
need to go within themselves and see if they can. And we are not looking for the perfect answer,
Right.
right? So Q&A has a tendency of people expecting if they raise a question, they will be answered. Some of these things can be answered, but some of the very nature of this topic or the very nature of what you're talking about requires contemplation, as I said. So that's
Right.
the part from learning. They heard me say something. Maybe it's an opportunity, if they're not understood something, if they're in doubt, for them to go back and see how it arises in them. And sometimes, as has been my experience, it can arise and you kind of know what it is about.
Okay.
So that's what I do. So and I do it, for the most. So far, I've done it pro bono because I just want to reach out to people.
Okay.
And whoever is interested, I don't like social media much because I'm not on Facebook. In fact, the reason is because it takes my attention away. To me, my attention is precious.
Yeah.
So it's word of mouth. So I reach out to people, and if anyone's interested, then I'm open to spending that time with them.
Lovely. Have you seen any patterns that people have in their thinking, in their
Behavioral patterns?
behavioral patterns, or even thinking, like they think only in that particular way, which needs to be broken?
No, I think it's hard to answer that question because people are individuals. The only thing that I can think of which is probably underlies these different patterns is what we keep coming back to is the I, me, and mine.
Okay.
Whether if they're expressing a thought or an opinion or even a comment, usually they have taken a position, and then if someone challenges that, then there's something that they don't like or they don't agree with. So I think all I can say that's common to all of that is all of us come from this orientation of I, me, and mine. And very, very few times do I find anyone, and this includes me for quite often, saying that I don't know. We usually have a tendency to say it's this or it's that.
Okay.
Right? And quite often we don't know the facts. We have opinions. Everyone has an opinion, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So that is that's an example of a common pattern, if you will. But sometimes it's good to, it's a wonderful expression, I forget who said it now. It said, the willing suspension of disbelief.
The willing suspension
of disbelief, which means if you're not sure, just say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Rather than say, no, this is how I feel about it, or this is how I mean, we're not talking about some rocket science. We're not talking about, how you make a rocket. Of course, that everyone will say, I don't know. But the day-to-day things about that. There's so many areas where people have a preconceived notion or a thought or is ready response. And I think that that's okay. But if you find someone who has a different view, then that can create some, some turbulence, if you will, where maybe open conversation doesn't happen. Right? And then people cling together to something and that's natural. But I wish people were somewhat more open. So I think my answer is that it really comes down to whatever it is they do, they still have the I, me, and mine at the center. So that is that is what drives all these patterns of behavior.
And I guess, if one has to start this, probably at a very younger age, if you start practicing this, it will have its own impact.
Yes.
As you grow older, because then you're not, in institutionalized and thinking in a particular way. You're not working in patterns. Your behavior and all that is.
You're very right. When we are young, we can at least remember some aspects of our childhood. We are more open, more innocent, right?
Yeah.
We carry less of a baggage with regards to beliefs, what I just talked about, or opinions. Children don't have that many opinions. They're more like wet cement, right? But at the same time, they can be very surprisingly very open to some aspects of life which we adults might find difficult to accept. They are more
Correct.
accepting, right? They are more open. They are more open to suspending their belief, suspension of disbelief, for example, right? This phrase could very well apply to them. And I do know that the Vipassana courses that as taught in the centers around the world, including India, by the late S.N. Goenkaji, right?
Yeah.
They have programs. I don't know about children, but they at least have programs for teenagers. I think from starting or maybe pre-teens from the
they
age
do?
of 10 or something, they have those programs.
Oh, lovely.
And if I had to do it all over again, I would probably ask my children. They are adults now, but I think you're right. It has to. It could start there, which doesn't mean you're making sages out of the children. They can certainly participate in whatever profession they want to eventually get to. So they're going in there with a more balanced sense of the I, me, mine versus what's out there, right?
Correct.
I certainly think that's would be ideal if they did that.
Yeah.
And they carry less baggage because it's like learning, learning to play the piano or tennis or something. If no one teaches us that we make mistakes, and then it's very difficult to unlearn.
True.
So it's the same thing with ourselves. It becomes patterns get set. You talked about patterns a little earlier. Thinking, habits, reaction become. Something happens, we suddenly react to that because these patterns have been there for years. So it becomes that much more difficult to unlearn. So you brought up the notion of difficulty a couple of times before.
Yeah.
And so it is harder for us. It is difficult to us because of all these reasons. Right? So I think that's really something that would be beneficial if children started early. But again, it can't be something where parents say, okay, now you have to do this. Right? It's not like taking you see how the child responds to that.
Yeah.
It's not like taking a course and you will do this. You don't want to force a child into this.
Yeah. This is something you can't force.
Yeah, but you introduce to them and see how it evolves.
Yeah.
How the child grows into it.
Everyone will evolve in their own way.
Yeah.
But at least
give them the opportunity.
Is planted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Some seeds will flourish, some won't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everyone has to be like, people follow their own life journeys. If some sort of it takes hold somewhere, but I think that's all the better.
All the better.
Yeah.
Wonderful. This was an amazing conversation.
I enjoyed talking to you about this topic, which is very dear to me. It's not just a topic. It's fair to say, at least part of my way of living.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So, thank you.
Yeah, the approach would be very different for you. Vis-a-vis somebody who's so embroiled in the day-to-day affairs.
Luckily, I've been out of my place of work for a number of years, so I had a soft landing when it comes to this. I couldn't imagine just doing this right after stopping my corporate work. So I've been very fortunate in that regard that I had a long, slow descent into this and a long runway. At least as far as runway, not in terms of life, but runway in terms of this cultivation.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Just listening to that itself is making so many shifts in the head right now.
I'm glad to hear that. I hope something, as you said, something is beginning to maybe shift for you. I hope it continues. And who knows?
Who knows?
Again, no expectations, no goals.
No, not at all. No expectations at all. Just, what I'm liking is to be in that state of contemplation, awareness that, okay, these thoughts are arising. It's not a reaction. It's, I'm probably responding to what is arising.
And, in fact, the word responsibility, there's one common connotation is that, in the Hindi we say jababdari. That's one connotation. The other connotation, to me, the more profound one, is the ability to respond. So you're taking responsibility for yourself and for your life. And so that, in a way, then has a positive rippling effect on others. The ability to respond to the situations you're faced with is far more positive than reacting to something. Now, of course, this life-threatening situation, you're going to react, right? We're not talking about those. But you are, I won't say you're in control, but you're in a position where you are able to say, okay, this is how I'm going to deal with it. Rather than just react.
Correct.
Responsibility in its truest sense.
True. Right? And most of the people I see around me are keen to react. Even in a conversation, they are listening to the conversation, but they want to
they want to get their word in. They're waiting for getting
Yeah,
their word in.
yeah.
That's part of it.
Completely disregarding to what you are saying or whether it is even a relevant comment to make or so.
yeah.
So people
So-
are constantly into that reaction mode.
Yeah. So that's another
Yeah.
benefit of mindfulness.
Correct.
One is the ability to respond rather than react. Other is to participate more fully. Actually, ironically, you participate more fully by being non-judgmental because you are now fully open to them, right? You're not judging what they're saying. You're not
Yeah,
waiting
yeah.
for a
Yeah.
moment to get your word in. You're now fully open to whatever's happening. You're listening to them. They sense your presence. They sense that
Yeah.
you're listening to them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's very implied, but they get a sense for that and they start appreciating it.
Correct.
And so then you wait for your turn. Patience is another quality you cultivate. There's so many
Yeah,
benefits
so
of
many,
mindfulness, right?
So many. Yeah.
It's not just sitting quietly and then it just goes on and on. In fact,
Yeah.
the benefits that I had are, I talk about in terms of the iceberg model. A few benefits others see around me, perhaps less reactivity and so on. But the deeper benefits of mindfulness are things such as almost the lack of any rumination, what I mean by that is thinking about the past. I should have
Okay.
done this, I could have done that. That's now pretty much not there. The sense of boredom is pretty much vanished. Not compelled anymore. I should be doing something or
Yeah, yeah.
looking at my phone.
Yeah.
All of that. So there's so many benefits that emanate like ripples. It's like a stone that you throw in the water and see many ripples come out of it.
Yeah, yeah. And yet, at the same time, you are still rooted in your urban environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because many people think meditation, or if I practice meditation for so long, or mindfulness is like going towards Vanaprasthashram.
Yes. Escapism.
But
sometimes
escapism, yeah.
Well, that is one option. Sometimes I don't have my bike anymore. I used to go and just sit by myself because I wanted to sit in nature, away
Yeah,
from the city.
yeah.
But it's not about escapism. And I'm glad you brought this up. This is not about escapism. Not at all. In fact, again, to emphasize that it is about participating very much with both your feet on the ground. But your
Yeah.
feet are better grounded, well planted on the ground.
Yeah.
And you're in the qualities that you bring are less reaction and all of these other qualities you bring. So in fact, your participation is even at a deeper level, I think.
Correct.
And people sense that.
People sense that. Yeah. Lovely. This is such a wonderful conversation, Pramod. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk about it. I love it.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And I hope many people are going to benefit out of this.
Well,
I mean, at
we'll
least
see.
plant a seed again.
Well,
You're planting
again,
a seed.
if they do, fine. If not, well, maybe someday or they won't. Again, no expectations.
Yeah, no expectations.
It's my mantra, one of my mantras.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming.
Thank you.
So much.
Okay.
Yeah. So, thank you for tuning into today's Mindful Pause. If you enjoyed this episode and if it helped you bring some clarity or curiosity in your mind, please do share it forward with people who need to slow down. Yeah, people who are curious about meditation, people who want to learn more about mindfulness and such. And please remember to leave some comments as to how you found this episode and which other topics would you like us to cover. Till then, stay mindful and stay kind.